Hey guys, how you doing? This is Byron Scott back with another video. I want to make a video to kind of talk about how you can make money wholesaling real estate. Just in general, just to give people kind of a foundational of how people actually make money wholesaling real estate. So the way that you make money wholesaling real estate is that you find a property or a property owner that's looking to sell their property. Maybe not even looking to sell them, but they would be interested in selling. And you come to an agreement with them on a price. Now that price is typically a discounted price, and that discounted price that you get it for, let's say for example, you find a property in the neighborhood, and somebody wants to sell it for $100,000, right? That if they want to sell it for $100,000, and you see that is a discount, you get that person under contract, which gives you equitable interest in purchasing the property because you have established a contract with that person saying that they're willing to sell it for $100,000. Well, the way that a wholesaler makes money is from that contract, they can then assign their position in that contract to someone else that may find that contract valuable, right? And the only way that contract is valuable is if that contract is at some type of discount of what that property is worth. If you put them on a contract for $100,000 and the property is only worth $80,000, then there's no value in the contract, right? So you can't just run around and put people under contract and not know that it's at a discount to the point where somebody would consider it to be valuable, right? That's why when I typically teach people how to wholesale, I teach them to find a buyer first. But that's not the only way to do it. There's plenty of ways to wholesale, but in every situation, there's a property, whether that's land, whether that's commercial property, whether it's single family or whatever, there's a property that you found and put under contract at a price that somebody else considered to be more valuable. So let's say you get that person under contract for $100,000, but somebody else, understanding that it's at a discount and somebody else would want it at $120,000 or $110,000, right? So you put that person in contract for $100,000. Well, inside of your contract, and I have videos about contract. You can go check out a video that I made previously about a contract I use, and I made that video last year. I need to update it. But you take that contract and you can then assign that contract to someone else that may consider that property to be more valuable, right? So let's say you get them under contract for $100,000. You go, find somebody who was willing to buy it for $110,000. Well, you can assign your contract to that person for $10,000, right? So that person then will be purchasing the property for $100,000 with an assignment fee to you for $10,000, right? And they're paying that fee of $10,000 in order to take your place inside of that contract, right? We call that that's an assignment fee, right? And you're assigning the contract. That's one way of wholesaling it. Another way of wholesaling it is to do what's called a double close. A double close is basically where you actually purchase the property for $100,000 from that person, and then you turn around and sell it to that other person who wanted it for $110,000, right? So you found a person with the property, you got them under contract for $100,000. You found a person who wants to purchase property for $110,000, and you put them under contract for $110,000. So you have two different contracts, right? And you want those two contracts to close typically on the same day. That way you buy one, you buy the property for $100,000, and you turn around and sell it for $110,000 the same day, and then that day you walk away with $10,000 minus any closing costs, the cost it takes to actually have those transactions, right? So that's a double closing. Now in double closing, sometimes you do have to come with the funds to close on that first property, right? But there's many of options and many of, ways to, and different closing attorneys are able to do this. And if somebody's person will actually cash, you can do this. That's why you got to find cash buyers, because with cash buyers, you can, that first transaction, you don't have to bring $100,000 to the table. Many closing attorneys or title companies will use the person who's buying it from you for 110. They'll use their funds to fund the first transaction. That way, you don't have to bring any money to the table. That's why you'll see a lot of times people talk about, hey, you can get in real estate with no cash and no credit, right? Because you put that person under contract, you put this other person under contract, and now you don't have to have the cash because you found a cash buyer that's going to buy that property, or that you can assign the property to, that will take your place and then just pay you a fee. You don't have to bring any cash to the table. You don't have to have any credit for that, right? The only time cash gets involved in that is when you put that person under contract. There is a earnest money deposit, but that earnest money deposit is whatever you and that person negotiate, that's looking to sell their property. That could be $10, that could be $1, that could be $100, that could be $500. It's whatever you can negotiate. And typically, if you don't have but $10 to put down as earnest money, you just put the $10 in the contract. Don't sit there and say, hey, how much earnest money do you want, right? You don't ask them that. You could just put it in the contract, and if they're okay with it, then bam, they'll be ready to move forward. Sometimes sellers will ask for more earnest money, right? And in that situation, what I like to do is I go and tell my buyer, the person who's buying the property, hey, look, this person wants this much earnest money. Can you put the earnest money up, right? So that's kind of what I do. That's why I like to find a buyer first. That way, money is never a problem, because I keep people with money on my side, right? So those are the two ways that I wholesale properties, and the two most common ways that wholesalers actually make money. They find discounted properties, they put them under contract, and they either sell their position in that contract for an assignment fee. They assign the contract to someone else and that person closes, or they double close it, where they purchase the property and then they turn around and sell it, and that typically happens on the same day. But many times the end buyer, the person who's buying it from you at the end for the higher price, they're using their cash to fund the first deal, right? And attorneys' offices and title companies that work with wholesalers a lot, and you can ask them, hey, do y'all do pass-through funding, where the end buyer's funds are used to fund the entire transaction? And if they don't understand what you're saying with that, you probably need to find another closing attorney or title company. So that's how a wholesaler makes money. Your value is finding discounted properties and putting that property under contract, and that is your value to a cash buyer. Somebody who may be buying houses to fix and flip. Somebody who may be buying houses to buy and hold, or something like that, right? So your value is that you find discounted properties, and they want that discounted property, and they still feel like at the price that you're giving it to them, they can still make a profit off of it, right? So they may buy it from you for, you may get in a contract for 100, they may buy it from you for 110, and they may put a little work into it or something and resell it for 200, right? $200,000, right? Or they may buy it for 110 and rent it out, and be able to make, $1,700, $1,800 a month, right? From rent. And they feel like, hey, this is a net, a good return on their investment. So that's how wholesalers, make money, and that's the value that wholesalers bring. So guys, I'm glad I'm back making videos for you guys. I'm going to try to bring more and more. So stay tuned. Look out on IG. I'm REI Next Door. You can check me out. Try to go live often. But anyways, y'all guys have a good day. If you have any questions or anything, make sure you leave comments below, like and subscribe. Other than that, have a good day. Peace out.